Didn't hear nothing I was saying just now. That's cool. Super. The videos that I did last night, I had to put on private because they were just so messed up and I don't know what it was, but they were just really, really bad. Um, so hopefully this will work a little bit better. Yeah, so the job interview yesterday, um, I think it went okay, but they're only hiring for courtesy clerks right now. So basically what that is those are the people that like they go and get the carts from the parking lot and like bring them in, and it's like 6 at a time, which I think I could probably do, but I still want to like work within the limitations of my knee. And I told them that I was working on getting into physical therapy to help with my knee and see if that makes it any better. But I don't know, because if they have like fully able bodied people who can absolutely do the job with no problem, then they're obviously not going to hire me, which really sucks. Um, so that's just kind of where I'm at. But I know a lot of people who work as courtesy clerks are usually like teenagers and stuff like that, and you have to work within like the state limitations for teenagers and the job requirements and stuff like that. So like for teenagers in some states you can only work like X amount of hours a week, money, like there's limitations on it. But for me, having open availability, maybe it'll be better. I don't know. I have no idea. Um, but I applications this morning. I still have another interview to do. It's like an online, I don't know, like assessment kind of thing for like an office administrator for a potato grower or something. And I don't know anything about potato growing. I don't know anything about farming. Um, I know potatoes make up a good 60% of my diet. That's about it. So I don't know how well that one's gonna go. And then I put in an application for ShopGo, which I'm not even totally sure what that is, but it said cashier, so I can only assume it's some kind of retail. Um, but that's like an hour away in the opposite direction. So yeah, everything around here is pretty much an hour away. So I'm not gonna be able to get around that one. Like from where I'm at, Alamosa is an hour away, Salida is an hour away, Buena Vista is an hour away, Center is an hour away, Monte Vista is an hour away, and that's like the closest things to me. So I'm just gonna have to get over the fact that my commute is going to be at least an hour, which is going to suck a little bit, but working in Alaska from North Pole to Fairbanks, it was about an hour. So I'm not really too worried about that. I'm just more worried about being able to find something because it's already been a month and I really don't know how I'm even going to get through this month. And I know with like holiday stuff it's a little trickier because like everyone's going on vacation, they want to go out of town, they want to go see their family, they want time off for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. I don't really celebrate anything anymore cuz I just don't see the point. Like we have this whole day of giving thanks and showing appreciation just for us to abruptly end it at 6 p.m. to go shopping and then get up early at like 3 a.m. the next day to go shopping. Like we're so appreciative for everything we have, but then we have an entire day dedicated to consumerism and it's just gross. And then Christmas is like the most fake time of the year. Like everyone sits there and they're like, "Oh, I love these people. I want to get everyone gifts," but really it's just a social obligation and nobody actually like takes that stuff seriously. Like if you're only kind to somebody like a few days out of the year because society tells you to, that kind of makes you a crappy person, to be honest. Um Yeah, so the interview, that's what I was talking about earlier. I think it went okay, but I know with courtesy clerks, if they have somebody who's 100% able-bodied, they're gonna hire them over somebody who needs a brace and a cane to walk. Like, I can bag groceries, I can take them to the car, I can go get, like, the electronic scooters and stuff like that, but I know that when it comes to getting, like, the regular carts, it's gonna be more of a struggle, and I know for a fact that if they have somebody who's able-bodied, they're going to take priority over me. Even though I've already worked for Kroger before, it comes down to who's capable of actually doing the job, and that's my big issue, and it's like somebody else had said that they worked at Hooters and they had a prosthetic foot and they were able to hide it, and I'm like, "Okay, well, having a prosthetic foot is a lot different, especially if it's like, I didn't ask for details, but when you think of prosthetic foot, like, it's kind of like from the ankle down, which would be covered by your shoe. So it's not an out in the open, obvious thing, whereas having this giant brace across my knee or a very obvious cane is a little bit harder to hide. And they're like, "Oh, you can hide it." How? Like, when I can't walk correctly, like, I'm wobbling all over the place without my brace and without my cane, how am I supposed to hide that? Like, you can't. When you have to, like, hold on to walls and other people and whatever you can grab to just to stabilize yourself, like, how are you supposed to hide that? Like, I don't understand, and that's really, really difficult. So I don't like, I understand where they're coming from, but it's kind of like if I had a completely fake arm. Like, it's just out in the open. It'd be really difficult to hide that. Like, even if it was like I wore long sleeves all the time, if I came out with, like, a fake hand, like, that's kinda difficult to hide, and it's really difficult to hide needing assistance to walk. And I'm trying to, like, do what I can to fill out the applications, to call people, to keep up on these things while I wait for the Voc rehab because I really don't wanna rely on Voc rehab. I don't know how much longer it's gonna take after the initial, like, interview. Is it gonna be, like, a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months? Like, and then Walmart was like, "We're not hiring right now," which doesn't make any sense because their website says they're hiring for that location, Indeed says they're hiring for that location, um, like, their front door says they're hiring for that location, but then you call and they're like, "We won't be hiring until March." Alright, that's that's cool. I can't wait until March, because I, like, need employment now. Like, I needed employment 30 days ago, and the whole reason that I didn't want to move down here and I fought so hard to keep my job was because of this exact situation, because I didn't wanna move down here and then struggle to find something once I got down here, like, I just didn't wanna do that, and here I am doing that exact thing and becoming increasingly frustrated and not really sure how to handle it or how to, like, get through my days anymore because, like, I don't know. It wears on your mental health. I'm probably gonna call, like, one of the day rooms later and just go up there because, like, it's hard when you're just stuck. Like, what do you do when you've exhausted all of your options and all you can do is just sit around and wait? Like, it sucks. It just absolutely sucks. I can't just sit here and, like, do nothing. Like, my days are consumed with trying to find jobs that I qualify for, and out here, it's just not possible, and I see a lot of ads on Indeed about, like, online English tutors and stuff like that, and it's like, "Okay, cool." Like, I used to work in, like, preschools and stuff like that, and I've looked into them, and they're like, "Oh, you have to have, like, all these certifications and, like, one of them said they wanted like a bachelor's degree in English, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I don't have those qualifications. That's not something I can do. Like, it just sucks. And I was watching this video last night from The Rewired Soul, and I haven't really been keeping up on a lot of his videos recently just because they haven't, it's been a lot of like about the Shane Dawson stuff and the Jake Paul stuff, and it just seems more like drama based, and I'm just like not into that. But there was one that was talking about like basic income. And apparently there was this study that was done up in like Canada or something where they gave every person in this small town like $16,000 a year. Like they didn't have to go to work. They didn't have to like go to school, anything like that. But everyone that was like of age to work got $16,000 a year. And you would think like people would just sit around and not do anything, but that's not what happened. What happened was that people went to work and employers had to have better working conditions, because if they didn't, people could just leave. Like they were still going to get their $16,000 a year regardless. So if people were being treated correctly at work, they could leave and it wasn't an issue. Teens weren't dropping out of school to help support their families. They were staying in school longer. They were able to, adults were able to go get secondary educations and stuff like that. And it's like, there's a lot of pros and cons with stuff like that, where you think like, yeah, that's a great idea, but it also opens up like a lot of questions about like, is that something that's even feasible? Like, yeah, you could totally eliminate like poverty and things like that, but then there's always going to be people who are going to take that money and they're going to turn it into something not good. Like they could turn it into like drug businesses or something like that, side hustles, whatever. Like there's always going to be people who have bad intentions and stuff like that. But I think to do it on like a small scale like that and have those kinds of results, it was kind of astounding, to be honest. I've been ignoring my comments. Like I feel like I just get so sidetracked so easily, and it just doesn't help anything. And if I look like I had like got punched in the face, it's just makeup from yesterday. I don't have like, I don't want to say safe water, but I definitely don't have clean water to like remove my makeup. So I'm just letting it run its course. It's fine. This is fine. Let's see. I work at a grocery store. I'm a bagger. I mostly bag 90% of the time. There are very rare instances I help people out to their car. I've worked there for over 2 years now. The thing with Kroger is that they put people on cashier, like they hire from within or promote from within. That's air mittens, like air quote mittens. And while I get that, they want to take people from like courtesy clerk and put them on like front end and stuff like that. It's not really, I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, okay, let's say you have 10 cashier openings, right? And of those 10 cashier openings, you're going to have like 4 that are going to be moved to like bakery, seafood, whatever. So then you're going to have 4 openings in the 10 slots that you have for cashiers. Am I making any sense? I hope so. So out of these 10 available jobs, 6 are being taken right now, and then you have 4 that open up. Instead of you having at least one of those slots open to somebody who can't live up to the physical standard of courtesy clerk, like it's required for you to go get these carts and you're not able to go get these carts, instead of you having that one job opening for somebody who needs it, you're just taking like all these kids from, running carts and putting them in cashier positions, and then everyone has to start from like courtesy clerk. So if you have somebody like, I need like a good example that's not me, because I'm tired of talking about my kneecap. Okay, so like my mom, she has carpal tunnel in both her wrists. So she can't go and like get the carts, but she also wouldn't be fit for cashiering. And there's nothing else in that entire store she can do, like greeting, like service desk stuff. Like they're like, "Oh, we have openings for service desks sometimes, but that's kind of rare." And I'm like, "All right, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either." Like, I don't know. And then with like courtesy clerks, if most of them are like high school students, like college students, you have to wait for them to be of age because Kroger is the kind of company that will do whatever they can to like keep the lines moving. And so if somebody's like 10 cents short, you know, for their order or whatever, instead of them stopping the line, suspending the order, having that person go find 10 cents, come back, they have this like make it right policy where they're like, don't worry about it. We'll write it off. Like it's fine. And then you fill out a little slip and your manager signs it and then you're good to go. Like it's not a consistent thing, but that's like something that happens like every person, but that is something that Kroger wants to do so that they can keep their lines moving so you don't have backups like at Walmart. But the thing is, if you have like teenagers or people who are like under 21 that can't do liquor sales, they can't really put them on the line for cashier because then they're going to have to like stop it every time someone comes through with alcohol so that somebody else can come through and ring it up, and then it becomes a hassle. You can't put them on cigarette sales. Like, so you have to wait for all of these courtesy clerks to like age out. I don't know. Plus, it's not like Alamosa really has a whole lot anyways, so pickings are slim. So that's not exactly encouraging either. And I wouldn't mind like just bagging groceries because I like bagging groceries. Like I know that sounds crazy, but like I like bagging groceries. I like like you're not really interacting with people. Kind of, because you're more focused on just like getting through the order and you're not really making a whole lot of small talk, and even though you're around people, it's not like the most social of things, and so I think it's a little bit easier for me to handle something like that. And then yeah, I could bag groceries. I just don't know about the getting carts part. That's what makes me nervous. I don't want to take a job position from someone who's completely able-bodied to do it and is better fit for the job. Like, there's parts of the job that I could do well, but then there's other people who could do the entire job. Do you see what I'm saying? That's kind of where I'm at. To get thirsty and out of breath from bagging. Did once couldn't keep up. When I was a cashier at Fred Meyer, I never had like any issues. I mean, we were allowed to have like a water bottle up there. But I never had like any issues with anything really. Like it was fine. I was more I was more out of breath going from like my car to the store or from the store to my car because of how cold it was. Like -20 hits you really hard, like really hard. And then to get into the break room, you had to like go up this flight of stairs. And sometimes I was like so just exhausted and cold from like the drive because my heater wasn't always working in my car. And then getting into the store, I would have to like either take the elevator or just like sit there for a few minutes and just like warm up and adjust to life. Yeah. For me, the coffees I have helped me get through the day. Yeah, I am not supposed to drink coffee or have any caffeine, so I try to just not. Enjoy the time off. Working is a pain. See, the thing is, I have been working since I was 17. My mom was not happy that I got a job at 17. But I wanted a phone, and that was the only way that I was going to get a phone. And so I started working at this daycare that was run by the church that I was going to at the time. And so they would come like pick me up for work and take me home for work. I lived around the corner from the church, but my mom didn't want me walking over there. Florida is not exactly the best place to just like go for walks and stuff like that because people drive like there's no rules. Like Florida is a lawless wasteland. So I've been working since I was 17. When I was first diagnosed, I was 19. And the medications that they had me on at the time were so strong and I was being so over medicated that I was literally just, like, sitting on my mom's couch, just, like, staring. Like, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't able to go to school. I wasn't able to go to work. I was just sitting and staring and not functioning like a normal person. And then going through this cycle of every couple weeks being on a different pill because one would, like, cause me to have muscle spasms, one would cause me to, like, completely stop sleeping, one would cause me, like, severe nausea, like, all these different side effects, and so I wasn't able to, like, function like a normal person on a day-to-day basis, and so I was not in a good spot and was not able to work, and it made me absolutely angry and frustrated at the fact that I was just sitting here being a lab rat. Like, it was the worst time. Like, I did not feel like anything was helping. I didn't feel like I had any value. I didn't feel like I was contributing anything to society. I was taking up space. I was breathing other people's air, and it was awful. And then when I was 21 and I moved to Tampa, um, my ex-fiance's mom had worked at this Jewish community school, and um, she still had connections up there, and so she got me a job up there, and so I was working in the preschool side of this Jewish community, like, Jewish community center, and I was not Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I don't know a whole lot about, like, Jewish culture and faith and things like that, but I learned very quickly. And it was a really great experience, and I felt like, I had purpose. I felt like I, was contributing something because I was finally back working, and it was amazing. And I had, like, a short little stint working at the children's place doing seasonal, but seasonal there was really, really strange because, like, you go in, you have your interview, you get hired, okay, cool. Then you go in for your first day and they just expect you to know what to do. Like, you show up and you're just supposed to know, and that didn't make any sense to me. And then I get out on the floor and I'm, like, trying to help people find stuff, and they're like, "Where's your radio?" And I'm like, "I don't have one." Like, "Why don't you have a radio? Where do you get a radio?" Like, you're asking me all these questions, but nobody's told me anything, so I'm just doing what I assume is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the radios were, like, in some weird little hidden area, and it was just very strange. Like, 0 out of 10 would not work for Children's Place again. It was awful. It was ugh, it was awful. Um, and then when I had to move to Colorado the first time and I had to leave the preschool, my mom told me, "You can either go to work or you can go to school." Because at that point, I had gotten my GED, and she's like, "You can either get a job or go to college." And I chose to go to college. And honestly, like, I kind of regret it to an extent because now I have student loan debt and no way to pay it because I don't have a job, let alone a job in my field. I don't think outside of waxing brows, I've never held a job as, like, an actual, like, "Here's my title, esthetician," like, never. It's never been that. Like, I've never worked in a spa. I've never, like, done the facials day in and day out. Like, that's not a thing because those positions are really, really hard to find. And even though that's what I went to school for, there's nothing out here that I could use those skills for. So it's kind of pointless. And I tried to work and go to school at the same time, and I told the manager of Big City Burrito in Aurora, um, I told the manager, like, what my schedule was, and he was always trying to, like, inch out my hours to where some days I was, like, late for class and things like that, and I'm like, "This is not okay, like, school comes first, like, I have to get through school, I can't drop out to go fold burritos for the rest of my life, like, I just can't do it." And ended up having to leave so that I could get through school, and it put a huge financial burden on my family because there were, like, monthly payments that you had to make, and we really struggled to make those. And my mom still kinda holds it over my head, and she's like, "Are you gonna pay me back the $2,000 for school?" And I'm like, "Honestly, if you had kept me in public school from 3rd grade to 12th, you would have paid a lot more than $2,000. Plus you had 4 kids to pay for, so, like, you got off cheap on that one." But after that, like, I was able to get a job right out of school, and I struggled for a couple months. I wasn't able to provide for myself, and if it wasn't for the fact that I was staying in a friend's house while they were deployed, and they told me, "Hey, you can eat whatever's in the house because it's probably gonna go bad by the time we get back." If it wasn't for that, I would not have had any food to eat. I would not have been able to go to work because I was even struggling just to pay for the bus passes to get to work, and it was like a 3-hour bus ride to get to work. So, still got through that, moved to Alaska, got a job up there. Even after my car wreck, I was working in that call center, and I hated the call center, and typing with a broken hand is not exactly the easiest thing, and managers, floor supervisors, they will not be happy when you sit there and you struggle to type. Like, I got wrote up so many times because my calls were way too long because all the detail you had to put into the notes, and I couldn't do it, my hand was broken. Like, I've struggled with every job that I've had to be able to keep the job that I have, and I fought so hard to keep the job that I had in Arvada and wasn't able to, and now I'm just stuck, and it's like, I I didn't wanna come out here without a job, and now I'm out here without a job, and now I have to just sit around and wait, like, it makes me so angry that I have to just sit here and do nothing and wait. And it's like, I understand, okay, yeah, like, there's other people that these agencies need to help more. Like, I get that. I'm not ignorant. I'm not saying that, like, I should be at the front of the line. Like, I had to move here and it was really messed up, but, like, I should be at the front. Like, that's not it at all. It's the fact that, like, there's all of these offices and agencies and stuff like that, but there's only, like, one person that handles these cases, and it's almost impossible to get an appointment, and when you do, it could be a month or 2 out, and it's like, "Okay, well, what am I gonna do in the meantime?" Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, there's places online that I can apply. I've applied for everything in Alamosa, from Dollar Tree to Walmart, the Safeway, City Market, Chili's, IHOP, anything that would take my application, I've applied for. And I know places like Chili's and IHOP doesn't make any sense for me to work there because even as like a hostess, you have to be able to like have two hands. And when I need to use my cane, I only have one hand. And that's not very helpful to them. But it seems like if I can't find something on my own, how is Voc Rehab supposed to help? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, force me in somewhere that they obviously don't want me, or they need somebody who's more able-bodied? Like, I don't have a lot of faith in Voc Rehab, even though I haven't gone to the interview yet. That's not until, like, the 21st. But I don't have a lot of faith in it because if I can't find something for myself, how is someone else gonna find something for me? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and then once you go in and they find you a job, you still have to go in through the interview process and everything. So, like, what if they're like, "Oh, okay, this person has these limitations, cool." And then you go in and you do the interview, and then they meet you and they're like, "Oh, well, our job requirements are this," and you don't fit those job requirements, they're still not gonna hire you. Like, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I'm just not really seeing a whole lot of positives to the situation. And I'm sure I could look at places in, like, Colorado Springs, but that's, like, 2.5 hours one way, and just driving 2 hours is, like, a quarter tank of gas, so I would have to fill up my tank, like, every other day. That's a lot of money. So it doesn't really seem like that's the most logical thing to do, and I don't I don't know. I'm frustrated, and it seems like Like, there's all these places that say that they're hiring, but when you go in and you can see, like, a physical limitation, they don't wanna hire 'cause it's like a liability for them, but they don't wanna outright say it because they can't not hire you based on ability, disability, race, gender, things like that. Like, everyone's supposed to be, like, equal opportunity employers, which makes sense, but then there's also the fact of you have to be able to do the job. Like, there's physical requirements, you have to be able to fulfill those. Any home jobs available you can do through the computer. I haven't found anything that's, like, legit. I've found a lot of, like, really sketchy looking things. I wouldn't even know where to start with stuff like that, and my internet connection isn't the best, so I'm not really sure if even that would be something that I could do. I'm sure if I found something that was legit, I could work around, like, the connectivity issues and, you know, make it work somehow, but I honestly don't know of any of those that are, like, not scams. Like, I've looked into several over the years, even when I was, like, sitting on my mom's couch just, like, zoned out, like, I was still trying to find things that I could do, ways that I could make money online, and that was when I had started doing a lot of, like, the crochet and jewelry making and stuff like that, and, like, trying to sell things that I had made online, but they never sold, so it was pointless to keep doing it because everybody has enough crocheted scarves and hair bows and stuff like that. So, yeah. I've tried everything, like every conceivable way, legal way to make money. And it's sad because, like, before I came out here, I was just gonna stay in my truck to keep my job or stay in my truck and get do not so legal things. I don't really wanna go into too much detail, but I was not above selling myself, to be honest, and that was my plan before I came out here, was live in my car, sell myself, and then I would still have some kind of income, and that's, like, a different level of desperation. Like, when you come to the conclusion that your whole life you've been abused in that way, so you might as well use that to make money, like, that's tragic. That's truly tragic. And to get to the point where you're so desperate to have employment that that's what you see as being your only way out, like, there has to be something that I can do legally that's safer than that. Like, there has to be something. I just can't seem to find it. And it's increasingly frustrating because I don't know what to do while I sit and I wait for this Voc Rehab besides put in more applications, call more places, like, the same stuff I've been doing for a month now. Like, it seems so bizarre to me that there are people out there that actually think that people wanna be in situations like this, that there are people that actually want to suffer and want to struggle and want to constantly question, like, where their next meal is coming from and wanna question, like, how they're gonna pay their bills, like, and then get mad when people take up the offer of, like, government assistance. I've gotten several comments from one person that's like, "Why should my money go to you? I've worked so hard for everything I have and didn't even have a childhood because I was always going to different sports and different lessons and extracurriculars and da da da." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great. I'm so glad that your family had money for that. My family didn't." Like, I would get flyers for stuff like ballet and soccer and karate and was never able to do any of them because we didn't have money. I took piano lessons when I was 17, but that's because I was working and I was paying for those lessons, and I could only take them for a couple of months because I couldn't afford them anymore. Like, I did not have the luxury of a traditional education of going to school after 3rd grade. I did not have the luxury of extracurriculars. I did not have the luxury of being able to build, teamwork skills and leadership skills and things like that through those activities. Like when I was in, I think like 2nd grade, somebody in the neighborhood had started up a Girl Scout troop. And so we started going to Girl Scouts, but even that got too expensive. So we had to quit Girl Scouts after like a couple of months. And we were never able to really do anything with that. I can't put, oh, I was a Girl Scout, like, because I really wasn't. But for like a couple of months, I don't really think that counts. Yeah, I didn't have those opportunities. I didn't have the the luxury of being able to, you know, play sports or instruments or chess lessons or anything like that. Like that's just not something that I was able to do. And for someone to sit there and have all these luxuries afforded to them and get mad at me for not having the same thing and struggling my whole life and desperately trying to claw my way out of poverty, like it's tragic that somebody actually would be mad at that and mad at the fact that I have to be on government health care because I can't afford health care, that I have to be on food stamps, that I have to accept assistance through Voc Rehab. The fact that somebody would be mad that I'm using these outlets to try to help the situation rather than sitting on my butt and just collecting a check and not doing anything about it. It just it blows my mind. It blows my mind that people are actually mad when people need to use those outlets. Like, I haven't been on food stamps the entire time I've been an adult, but I've been on food stamps the majority of the time I've been an adult because I've not been able to make enough to feed myself. I have been on Medicaid the entire time I've been an adult because I've never been able to afford healthcare. And if it wasn't for the Medicaid, I wouldn't be getting treatment for my knee. And if I can't get treatment for my knee, I won't be able to get back into the workforce. And then those taxpayer dollars go to my permanent check because I'm not able to be in the workforce. So would you rather your taxpayer dollars go to something temporary to help someone get on their feet or go to something permanent so that they don't have to? Like, I don't understand how you could be mad or think that you like are so holier than thou that someone doesn't deserve a chance to get on their feet. Like it makes no sense to me. And every time I read these comments, it just makes me mad. Like because I truly feel bad for someone who's forced into doing so many activities as a child that they didn't feel like they were able to have a complete childhood or that they had to grow up too fast or anything like that. Like I feel bad for that person because it really does sound like they weren't able to enjoy their childhood. But that doesn't mean that somebody who is on assistance doesn't deserve assistance or that they're going to stay on assistance forever. I don't want to enter my 30s still on food stamps. I don't want to enter my 30s still on Medicaid. I don't want to enter my 30s still sitting in an RV with no like actual functional running water. Like I want to enter my 30s with a career and a place of my own, even if it is just qualifying for the PATH housing program, which is a program out here that helps people with chronic mental illnesses find housing and be able to provide for themselves. But I won't qualify for that until I have a job. And I can't get a job until I go to Voc Rehab because no one will hire me. And I can't go to Voc Rehab until my appointment on the 21st. So everything just becomes like a waiting game now. And it's so discouraging. Like it really, really is. And I'm not sitting here. They say, oh, well, you're playing the victim and you're just trying to make things sound worse than they are. And like, I can't imagine anyone who would spend their days inside a freezing cold RV or living in their car for like the giggles of it. Like That makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Like, none. And I can't imagine somebody actually sitting there and thinking that they're so much better than somebody else because they've never had to worry about their income. Like, I'm not saying this is like the worst situation that I could possibly be in, but it's definitely not the best situation I could be in. And I'm doing everything I can to make it better. I don't know what else to do. And it's not like sitting here making these videos makes a difference. It's not like I'm bringing in like buku YouTube money or anything like that. Like, that's not a thing. I'm not even anywhere near reaching the threshold of being able to collect anything from that. So that's pointless. Like, I'm still like making things and hoping to sell like the headbands and stuff that I make, but that's not a reliable source of income either. Like, I'm doing what I can to have a normal job so that I can provide for myself, so that I can do for myself. I just It's like sitting here and, like, just waiting. It's just a waiting game, and, like, with the interview that I had yesterday, they said they would, like, be doing calls going out next week, but if I don't hear anything by Friday, I'm gonna call them back and just check in and just go from there and see what happens. I'm really, really hoping that something opens up at the service desk because I feel like I would be a better fit for the service desk than I would, taking a job slot from somebody else who's 100% physically capable of courtesy clerk job. Like, I'm really, really, really hoping something opens up in the service desk or literally anything else. And they seem to be really understanding towards me wanting to work within my physical limitations. So hopefully they'll have something because this sitting here day in and day out, like, feeling worthless is not helping. And when I went to the doctor the other day, there was like a student there. So there was like my regular nurse, and then there was a student who was like in training. And she was like, "Oh, like, if it's cool with you, she's gonna come in the room." Like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm always like really supportive of people if I go to the doctor and like, "Oh, this is a CNA in training or whatever. Is it cool if they sit in?" Like, yeah, of course, because they need the experience, they need the hours. It's totally fine. So she goes and she like sits in, and um my regular nurse was asking me like, "How are you today?" And I was like, "I'm good." And she's like, "No, like, how are you? Like, how's your mental health doing?" And I was like, "Not good." Um like, really not good. And she explained to the girl that with my physical limitations and not having a job, it kind of contributes to the depression because you get this feeling of like worthlessness, you get this feeling of despair and things like that, and it really does wear really heavily on your mental health. And so that's something that I really do need to like take into consideration and work with is my mental health, but I'm trying to ignore it so that I can focus on having a job. Because if I just sit around and wallow in the depression, nothing's ever going to get done. And that's kind of the struggle is that with depression, you can't concentrate, you can't focus on anything. It feels like you really can't get anything done and you have to just power through it. And you're not really taking care of yourself at that point. So it's kind of an endless cycle of not really being able to function correctly, which sucks because you want to be able to function correctly, but you can't. And it just seems like everything is just going in a circle right now, and there's like no actual way out. And that's all I want is like a way to get out of this hole and stay out of this hole. Something like a permanent job, not something where I have to move in another 6 months, not something where I have to struggle for the rest of my life. Like a decent job where I can get on my feet and never have to do this again because I never wanted to do this again. I did not want to be in my late 20s living with my parents because I can't provide for myself. Like, that makes me feel like such a failure knowing that I can't do for myself. And there's so many other people out there who are even like younger than me, like teenagers who are able to do better for themselves than I am. And it's like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I don't understand how kids working at McDonald's can pay rent for an apartment and I'm working like making over $13 an hour and I'm still not able to provide for myself. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It also doesn't make any sense how this fly is existing in my RV because, like, it's so cold outside. Do they just, like, hibernate at night? And, like, it seems like it's the same fly that's been here this whole time. And it, like, gets on my nerves. I don't know. Anywho, I'm gonna go. I just felt like I wanted to, like, sit down and talk with you guys a little bit, share what happened with the interview. And I'm still waiting to hear back from a few people, so there's that. I don't even know where Buena Vista is. Like, I Googled it earlier, and it just said that it was, like, an hour away, but hopefully I'll hear something from them. I don't know if it's, like, appropriate, like, right after you put in an application for you to call them and be like, "Hey, so I put in this application online." Like, I'm sure it, like, takes time for it to, like, go through. I don't know. I might call them, just see what happens. And then go from there. But yeah. I'm trying to, like, stay positive and stay upbeat and stuff and, like, have a good attitude towards everything, but honestly, it just gets to a point where it's like, I really don't know how I'm gonna get through this. Because when you're in a situation like this, you're just kind of like, I really don't know a week from now where I'm gonna be at. I really don't know where my life is going, and you kinda don't see a future for yourself because you can't. Like, you don't even know how you're gonna pay your bills. How are you supposed to see a future for yourself? Like, I don't understand how in such a developed country, people still struggle to this level. It really doesn't make any sense. And I feel like I'm the only person who sees it. Like, I don't understand. There's all this money going to politicians for existing just so they can yell at other politicians. There's all this money going to professional athletes so they can play backyard sports on TV and use steroids and run in circles. And then there's people who are still homeless and starving and struggling. And it's like, what an injustice in this world. Not even just in this country, just across the world. And we could be doing so much better in terms of, like, our healthcare. We could be doing better in terms of our schools. We could be doing better in terms of our jobs. And it blows my mind that there's all this money that could be available if people in the top 1% weren't being paid so much for breathing. Like, maybe I just have, like, a different mindset from other people. I don't know. But anyhow, I'm gonna go. It's been fun, but I might take a couple of days off just to focus on myself, see if I need to go back to treatment, and go from there. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.